Hello, and welcome to Presence Practice with Poonam and Parker. Hey, Poonam.
Hey, Parker.
Hello. So today's topic is self-blaming, self-shaming, and it's the energy of several questions that we've gotten that it feels like it's all tinged. The impulse of posting the question was feelings of guilt and shame. So we're going to title this video Self-Blaming, Self-Shaming. What comes to mind just now is Eckhart tells the story about the two monks, and the older monk helps the older monk. The lady carries her across the stream. I've heard that story a little bit differently. Two monks take a vow of silence and walk across India, and older lady is drowning in the river, and the young monk goes down and pulls the lady out of the river, goes back and continues to walk. Hours later, the young monk says to the older monk, "Should I have pulled that lady out of the river? Should I have done that?" And the older monk said, "You put her down hours ago. Are you still carrying her?" So this is what happens. It's a beautiful story to remind us that to leave the past behind, we can go back and question it. We can get further down on the trail and know that we knew more. We know more today than we did 10 years ago, and look back at things that we did 10 years ago and have a pattern that comes up of guilt or shame. When you could equally have something that comes up and celebrates that you've gotten to a place where you are going to do it, you would do it differently. So to drop the past is just one moment ago. This video is going, in every moment the moment is dead. And so we pull our energy back in. If there's constructive action to be done, do we want to do it from an energy field of guilt and shame? Or do we want to do it from a powerful place of drawing all of our energy, all of our attention and focus into the present moment? If you're experiencing this, and sometimes we're experiencing guilt and shame, we should have done something different, but we didn't. Here we are right now. It doesn't mean that we're not going to have another moment where we're human beings, and part of being a human being is for us to have challenges and to trip and fall. It's not a vertical climb. We're all stumbling along here. And so I really encourage you to bring some levity in, bring some breath work practice in, bring in some loving compassion, and your perspective of whatever it is that you're looking at will change, because your energy field changes when you're able to slow your mind down and put your attention elsewhere in your body, in the present moment. And this constructive action is going to come. It's only going to come out of that space. But if we start becoming motivated, our doing becomes tinged with that guilt and shame, and we don't want that. We're all doing our best. We all are. You are, I am, Poonam, you are, and it's more than enough. It's exactly as it should be. It's insanity to think that things could be other than that, how they are at this very moment. And how they are, I say this a lot, but I'll remind us, are the facts of a situation. We can all have many stories but the facts of the situation are the only thing left. And we take constructive action when we just bring ourselves back in and bring ourselves back in this moment, accepting that there may be reactivity in our body, anxiety in the back of our heart, tightness maybe in our shoulder or chest, maybe an upset stomach. I don't want to go closer to that. Maybe I'll go take a shot of whiskey or do a drug to not have to sit with it. But here it is, and if we don't sit with it now, that's fine. The universe will give us something else sooner or later that's very similar for us to eventually sit with it. And it may feel like it intensifies a little bit for that first 30 seconds. It may feel like that it's even more difficult. But I want to encourage you to sit in that discomfort and take your soft approach, your soft presence, and allow that spaciousness to come around, that reactivity in your body, with the deep realization that this present moment is all we're responsible for in our state of consciousness right now. Poonam.
What I would say is back to Eckhart's pointer and his millions of ways of saying just one thing is pointing to presence. The reason we need to work towards presence, and this goes back to the should, right? With some of the videos, Eckhart says, just try it out, right? Like, just try out being in presence. See for a week or two and see how it does, right? So the should starts with even to recognize that we have every human, if they have enough of awareness, they can shed a light, observe their mind, and see that the guilt or blame or shame was just a thought. There's a field of awareness. In that field of awareness, a thought arose. And it's just an imagination. So it's just a thought in our mind. And that thought becomes a belief that limits us. So it becomes like we are stacking bars of prison, and we are behind like that. Like, you know, he says in one of the talks, when the shutters are closed, how can consciousness come through? And our purpose, the purpose of consciousness is to live this life fully and completely. One of the lines, I think Eckhart says, that Jesus said, the fullness of life. What is the fullness of life? Is to experience this life force fully and completely. And when we do these shutters of thought forms of guilt, shame, blame, and all these are, it's not personal. It's not that we are doing it. It is a collective pattern that exists in the collective consciousness that we have picked up, that let's go sit and think and ruminate over and over and over again on our victim story and feel guilt for it. So that's why he says, build your awareness. And Parker has done a fantastic job of offering so many breathwork videos. Use your breathwork, use your inner body, body work, use your meditation, use your being out in nature to inhabit your body so that you can recognize that, hey, this is a thought, drop it. This is a thought of blame, drop it. This is a thought of guilt, drop it. And that's all that is needed. And soon enough, those thoughts will dissolve, because it's like our pain body. One incentive for presence is, as we increase in presence power, our pain body dissolves. So that cycle is not going through. where thoughts are creating emotion, and emotion, like the pain body, is creating more thought, right? It's feeding on the negativity, like the electromagnetic frequency of our negative thoughts are just like sticking to each other and snowballing into this emotional field. And then now we are feeling heavy, right? We are walking around, we're walking around heavy, right? No, be joyful. The reason we are here, and that also brings about abundance in health, abundance in, that is the conscious manifestation. The more consciousness comes through us, we invite abundance into our life because we're appreciating, we're joyful about, no matter what it is, even if it is in a one single room house that we are living, because we're appreciating everything. Next minute, you know, you're in a 3-bedroom house. Next minute, you know, you're in a huge house, right? So that's what happens when we are in that state of joy. And that's the incentive to drop it constantly, like a hot potato, as he says in The Power of Now. That
What do you think about I feel like we haven't said the word forgiveness. And the reason why I haven't used the word forgiveness, and I don't think you have either, is because in the end, in absolute terms, there's nothing to forgive. In relative terms, we don't know. So should I go and do this or make an apology? Should I offer recompense? Should I take this punishment? The stories don't matter. Whether you do the apology or not, what matters is the state of consciousness, the purity in which you're able to do your doing in the world. So I encourage us to just to bring our attention back into wherever it's the reactivity that is fuming, the self-blaming and self-shaming, as if it's fuming and coming up for us, that we are able to just go and turn towards it. What a magnificent human being it is to turn 2,000s of years of running away from things and reactivity to sitting still and quietly and facing these patterns that our species has engaged in for so long.
I think making amends is, again, a human that has not generated enough presence power, right? Presence is the key. Presence is like the, I almost look at it as the tattoo removal laser, right? That the laser that removes a tattoo. Presence is the laser that removes that energetic pattern within us that is causing our pain and suffering, because we drop all these patterns once presence arises. Once that luminosity increases, it's almost like a dimmer switch. You dial up the dimmer switch, and the more luminous it is, the more the patterns don't exist anymore. But to initiate the remediation for the wrongs that we had done, I think the 12-step program says make amends. Even Byron Katie talks about in Loving What Is, about a robber that went knocked on each door of the person he had robbed from and said, hey, I robbed so and so, listed what he robbed, and said, can I do something for you, like paint your house, like offered his service, right, to them, and people openly allowed it, and that brought him a lot of healing. Yeah, that is a way to decrease your pattern of guilt, right? That you go physically make an amend, but it's not necessary. And that's why I love Eckhart's teachings, that it's just one simple pointer. Be in presence, get into your stillness. The more still that you are, the more you use, and each of us that has not had this awakening, like that, like the fireworks kind of moment, we have to daily practice, do the breath work, do the body work, do the meditation to reinforce, hey, can I really feel, can I inhabit my body? And the moment I inhabit my body, the reactivity is gone, right? Thank you, Parker. Amazing
Thank you.
topic.
Mm-hmm.
Love your presence.
Yours too.
Thank you.